Have you ever stopped to think, why is Easter the way it is today? Bunnies hopping around, chocolate eggs in every store, colorful parties filling the calendar. But pause for a moment. Does anyone still remember the real reason Easter exists? How did these familiar symbols come to hide the greatest truth in human history? There's a forgotten story, a truth that most no longer see. What you're about to hear might completely change how you view Easter. Don't look away, because after this, it might never be the same again. Now imagine for a moment the first Christians. No eggs, no bunnies, no decorations, just quiet rooms, reverent hearts, and a deep sense of awe. They didn't celebrate with parties. They gathered because they remembered the moment that changed everything, when the cross stood empty, when death was defeated, when eternity became real. That wasn't just an event, it was the foundation of their faith. But over time, something shifted. What began as sacred remembrance became blended with outside traditions. Why? Because time changes things, and so do people. Different cultures added their own customs, new symbols appeared, each with its own meaning, and slowly the essence began to fade. So we ask, does today's Easter still carry that same power? Colorful eggs, cute bunnies, endless decorations, they're everywhere. But stop for a second. Do any of these have anything to do with resurrection? The truth is, no. These symbols didn't come from the Bible. They came from ancient pagan festivals, European traditions that celebrated spring, the return of life after winter. They used eggs and rabbits as signs of fertility, not faith. When Christianity spread across Europe, those symbols were absorbed. They were used to connect with people, but the meaning shifted. The empty cross was replaced by colorful distractions, and with that, the true message of Easter got quieter. But maybe it's time to listen again. Maybe it's time to look past the wrappers and costumes and ask ourselves what we've lost and what we can reclaim. Let's go even further back. Before Easter, there was Passover. The Jewish people remembered how God freed them from slavery in Egypt. It was a night of deliverance, a night of rescue. And during his last meal, Jesus gave that night new meaning. He took the bread and said, "This is my body." He lifted the wine and said, "This is my blood." In that moment, Passover changed forever. It was no longer just about freedom from chains. It became about freedom from sin. Jesus became the true Lamb. His sacrifice wasn't just a symbol, it was salvation. Not only for those in that room, but for all generations to come. A single act that bridged heaven and earth. But as time passed, traditions mixed again, and what was sacred became part of a cultural celebration. Close your eyes. Picture the first believers, no decoration, no noise, just a quiet conviction. He lives. They didn't gather to impress, they gathered because they believed. Even through fear and hardship, their hope stood firm. But time moved on. The world added its layers. And now, Easter is many things to many people. But the real heart of it is simple. Jesus rose, the cross is empty, and death doesn't win. Today, Easter is a global celebration. Each country has its own version, but only one thing makes Easter truly matter: the resurrection. No matter how many traditions appear, the cross still stands, and it reminds us the story didn't end with a tomb. It began with a risen Savior. His resurrection wasn't just a moment in history, it was the beginning of everything new. In the end, Easter is not about candy or costumes. It's about a victory, about life that conquered death, about Jesus who is alive. Time may change how we celebrate, but truth doesn't change. So this year, when you see the symbols, stop and ask, what am I really celebrating? Because when we remember He lives, we remember that hope will never die. If this message spoke to your heart, follow our channel and stay connected. We'll keep sharing what matters most. God bless you.